You're gonna get married, you're gonna have a wife, you're gonna have your own house, you're gonna have to do stuff for yourself one day, you gotta do stuff for your wife. And to be able to do that, you need an at-home toolkit. Everybody say at-home toolkit.
At-home toolkit.
At-home toolkit.
At-home toolkit.
Your at-home toolkit is just tools that you need at home, so just in case something happens, you can just go ahead and fix it without having to go find the tools. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
It's for just in case stuff. What are the couple things that we need here at Home Depot? Like, what are some things that we need?
Hammers, screwdrivers,
Pliers, some scissors, a tape measure, duct tape, tape measure, a level, water hose, all this stuff you're gonna need when you get you a new house for you and your family. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in order to find our tools, what do we need to do?
I don't know if you caught that, but he clearly says what you're gonna need for your home. He's inspiring these young men. He's getting it in their head that they'll be homeowners. There'll be men who are leading families. He said, for your new home, when you're leading your family, there'll be husbands, right, and fathers. He's already planting that in their mind, and I think that's intentional. I don't think that's by mistake. That is by design. It's necessary to begin to frame their thinking, even at this young age, to understand that God created them as boys who will be men one day, and they're going to be husbands who are married to wives, women, and they're going to be fathers to children, and they're going to be providers, and they're going to need to protect and make sure things are done a certain way at home. And he's instilling that, and this is a beautiful thing. It's definitely necessary. Kudos to him, and to the parents of these young boys who are allowing him to pour into them, because this is a lost art, for real.
We need to find what?
The tool section.
Okay, look for the sign. So look back that way. Look this way. What the sign at?
Right there.
It's right there, right? And what does it say?
Tool.
All right, so we need to go to the tools section, right? All right, here we go. What do we need to put our tools in before we even get into that? What do we need to put our tools? We're gonna need a tool bag, right? We're gonna need a tool. What we're gonna need?
Tool bag.
We need a what?
Tool bag.
Need a tool bag. Good to go?
Yes, sir.
Now, me preferably, I like D-Walt. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Everybody say D-Walt.
D-Wall.
We like D-Walt tools. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. So put the toolbox inside the boogie. All right, here we go. All right, so what's one of the first things we said we're gonna grab? We need? What we standing in front of? All right, so these are called what? These are called who?
Pliers.
These are pliers. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Grip pliers help you grip things you can't grip with your own fingers. You understand that? So imagine look at me.
They're saying yes, sir, no, sir, too. Teaching them manners, teaching them respect.
Look at these. Look at them. So imagine you had your own metal fingers to be able to grab stuff. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
You can pull teeth out with this. Good to go?
Yes, sir.
So we use this to make sure things are even. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
So if we hanging up a picture for our wife, she said, hey, babe, can you hang up our anniversary photo from our wedding? Or whatever like that. You're going to go, put it on the wall, and you're going to measure it. If it's like this, your bubble is going to be over here. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
So is it even?
No, sir.
What about like that?
No, sir.
The only way it's level is if that bubble is where?
In the middle.
In the middle. That's how you know your picture is straight. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Same thing if you're going vertically. You see that bubble up there?
Yes, sir.
Our bubble is to help us make sure things are straight. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
What might we need a hammer for?
To hang up a picture. For nails.
Yeah, we can
So you can hang up a picture for your wife or something.
Yep, you can hang up a picture for your.
He's serious about that wife, that young man. He already ready.
You might need to put your bed together. You might need to build a chicken coop for your chickens at home so you can have eggs or whatever. You want to be useful. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
And this is probably one of the first tools you're gonna need. And also, you can remove stuff with your hammer too. This end right here helps you remove nails and all that stuff. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
What kind of tip we need for the cross?
Phillips head.
And what kind of tip we need for the line?
Flathead.
Flathead. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
And hold it right there. I just want to measure this shelf right here just to see how long it is. I'm gonna just go measure that bad, but just like that. That thing is 96 inches. Good to go. What 95 and a half. Cool. All right, cool. But anyway, that's what you would use it. How you take measuring, what you would use it for. You want to use it to measure things that you might need. You understand?
Yes, sir.
I love this. I think there's a lot that could be said to it. I want to keep it simple. And one thing I try to remind myself, and I also try to remind people when I talk, these things are not new. God already said that older men ought to teach younger men and older women to teach younger women, because God wants us to be learned. He wants us to be nurtured up. Not only just the fear and instruction of the Lord, but the wisdom and knowledge of life. One thing about life is that when you have people who are older, who've lived some life who's done life, they can give you so much wisdom. Because you don't, I tell my, my mentees, my younger brother, and just anyone that's willing to listen, the wheel doesn't need to be reinvented. There's nothing new under the sun. The vehicle by which things are done may be different, but there's nothing new. It's not new. So understanding that there's someone older who can speak wisdom and teach you things so that you can learn how to navigate. It doesn't mean that you won't have hard seasons. Everyone has hard seasons in life. There's no way to avoid it, but you can definitely avoid making mistakes, like especially unnecessary and avoidable mistakes. You can avoid that by listening. And what he's doing is very intentional. There's no doubt in my mind that this isn't intentional. It's very intentional, teaching these young men, giving them a framework of thinking so that as they're living life, as they're growing, they already have an idea of the fundamental things. They have a strong foundation to stand on, and they're just building around that foundation, building upon that foundation. And that's how you pass it on to the next generation. And, I never forget one time I called my older brother because I would lean on him for wisdom. And I called him trying to understand what it meant to be in love and get married. And I was telling somebody this story the other day. I was like, how do I know I'm ready for marriage? And he's always been a man of wisdom. And my older brother told me, he's like, do you remember when the Lord first saved you? And I was like, yes. He's like, did you love God then? I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, has it been several years since then? And at that point in time, it had probably been about, 10 years. I was like, yeah. He's like, do you love God more? I was like, yeah. He's like, why? I was like, because I know more about God. I've been through some rough times and, I've grown in my faith. And he was like, it's the same thing. And in marriage, you do marry someone, when you're getting ready to marry, you do love them, right? But your love grows. So he was essentially telling me, like, you're not going to be able to grow in love until you commit and start loving a wife, and then also don't have the expectation of this vast amount of love for someone that I haven't done any life with, and to just understand that if I choose a woman that I do love at that time, if I choose to marry someone, that our love will grow. The love that I have in the beginning will grow as time goes on. And that has always stuck with me. Even something my mom shared with me that I did not know about. She told me one time I was driving. I don't know why I said this, but I was just expressing like, yeah, Mom, you're always going to be number one in my life. And this was so long ago, but I remember it. I remember what car I was driving in. I remember the interstate I was on. This was when I was in Tampa, and I was merging onto 75. And I remember telling her, you're always going to be number one in my life. She was like, no, son. When you get married, your wife will be number one. I remember that to this day. I believe it was in either 2009 or 2010, but I remember it. And it's things like that. It's wisdom. It's fundamental understanding about life that you get from older people who've done life, already, and they can catapult you forward. Imagine me trying to figure out marriage on my own, thinking I need to love a woman. I need to have 10 years worth of love in my heart for a woman, when it's just, that's not how it works, or I need to always prioritize my mom above my wife. Like, going into marriage not knowing that would be devastating to a marriage, trying to keep my mom number one above my wife, and that's not even how it's meant to be. Long story short is, get around some folks who can grow you, and then maybe you can help someone else out. Make sure you're pouring into someone that's younger than you, that you can help them, move their life forward in a way that's glorifying to God and helpful to them. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section about this conversation, and I'll catch y'all in the next video.